Welcome. Welcome. Well, you're at home with Jim and Joy, and you are an important part of our EWTN family. And we are delighted that you've welcomed us into your home. You know, we would love to hear from you. So send us an email with a question or a comment to jimandjoy@EWTN.com. Well, today, new day, we are welcoming Dr. Paul Voss to our show. Now, Dr. Voss is the president of Ethicos, a consultancy specializing in culture, leadership, and executive coaching. And he's an associate professor of Georgia State University. Dr. Voss offers courses on Shakespeare, Dante, business ethics, Renaissance literature, and the history of the book. He publishes a wide variety of topics, as you can tell, for both academic audiences and for the popular press, and regularly appears on television and radio programs. And he was recently profiled in the Wall Street Journal. His most recent book, Merchant Saint, co-authored with Donald Prudlow, was published in April of 2025, and he also is the owner, this is an amazing thing, he's the owner of the world's largest marble bust of William Shakespeare. He owns it. So today, Dr. Voss is going to be joining us to speak about the power and the beauty of the written word, especially in today's time. You could go out to his website, ethicos.com, ethikos.com.
Well, as we were preparing to get with Dr. Voss, you know, and I saw the word aesthetics, you know, and humanities and so on, and I said, you know what, I gotta do some searching here again. Remind me about aesthetics and beauty, and that this whole field of study on beauty. And then the humanities, what are the humanities again? Philosophy and religion and classic literature and arts and so on. And I just kind of was searching on all that. And, you know, it enriched my life just doing that. Never mind this guy coming, he's on fire, okay? I mean, he's not just...
He's gonna make it all exciting.
Yeah, I mean, he believes that these are ways, if we are open to them, that we can meet and encounter the living God.
Yes.
That you can truly get, as Solomon asked for wisdom. We just recently heard about Solomon, right? He didn't ask for wealth, and he didn't ask for an extended life. He said, I'm a young guy. You know,
I need understanding.
I need understanding. And God loved that. And I think that's what Dr. Voss brings across to us. So I think it's going to solicit from us a desire to know God more fully and be better prepared to meet him one day face to face.
Well, we would like to take a moment to remind you that EWTN is only made possible because of your generosity. If EWTN has strengthened your faith or blessed your family, which it has mine, we humbly ask you to prayerfully consider making a financial gift to EWTNmission.com so that we can continue to bring Christ's message to the world. The whole world, and EWTN, the whole world needs EWTN. Go out to EWTNmission.com so we can continue this. As Mother Angelica used to say, keep us between your gas and electric bill. We can't do this without you. So for those who can donate, go out to EWTNmission.com, and we thank you for all of you who've already participated in this great appeal, and we ask for your continued prayers for EWTN.
Plenty more to come. We'll be right back. Please don't go away.
Welcome back. Well, our guest today is Dr. Paul Voss. Now, he's the president of Ethicos and the associate professor at Georgia State University. We're going to have a wonderful conversation today. Go out to his website, look him up, find him out on YouTube, who he is and what he does, ethicos.com. Well, we're excited to have you.
Delighted to be here. Thank you.
You brought your beautiful wife with you, and
I
we
did
so
indeed.
enjoyed getting to meet beautiful Mary.
Thank
but
you.
we want you first to tell our family a little bit about your journey and how you got to be all of you.
Yeah, well, thank you for this kind invitation. Delighted to be here. Mary and I have been married 39 years. We have 5 children, a second grandbaby on the way.
Praise the Lord.
40 years ago, I went to graduate school and I had to make a decision. What am I going to get the PhD in? Is it going to be in philosophy? Was it going to be in political science? And I decided it was going to be in English literature. I could never leave the gravitational pull of this author called William Shakespeare. I read Shakespeare. I was deeply moved by him, the theology, the philosophy, all of the beauty of his language, the construction of the written word was just so intellectually stimulating. So I took the traditional route, got the PhD, became a professor 31 years ago, books, articles, but one of my great joys is to teach a course called Shakespeare in Italy. We've been doing it for about 25 years. We take students over to Italy. We read Julius Caesar in the morning, and then we go see where Julius Caesar was assassinated in the afternoon. We go and see where the sonnet was invented in the morning. They memorize sonnets in the afternoon. Romeo and Juliet, Othello, The Merchant of Venice. So I think the world's greatest writer combined with the world's greatest city. It's been a wonderful blessing in our life. We just got back this May and look forward to doing it again.
How beautiful. And now tell our family about the bust that you owned of him.
Well, we have
this
a garden.
This is an amazing story.
It is kind of an amazing story. We have a garden in our backyard. I call it a Roman garden, and it's got statues. There's Dante down there, and there's a Medusa, there's the Thinker, there's Marcus Aurelius. It's a real Roman garden. But of course, Shakespeare was going to be the linchpin of this garden. And my wife showed me a website one day. I'd never heard of it. It's called eBay. I have never been shopping in my life. And there was a bust being sold out of Penn State University, and the bidding started at $1. And after about 48 hours, I won the bid, and I didn't realize that it was a 1,200-pound bust that came on a plinth, and it's 2.5 feet tall of pure marble made in 1880 in Florence. It's just fabulous.
How did you get it to your house?
That's another story. It had to be shipped down for $1,000, and then another concrete pad made for the bottom, and $1,500 to get it down a hill with ropes, pulleys, and levers.
Oh,
so my $500 purchase of the lifetime turned into a little bit more than that. My wife is still reminding me, oh, we don't have a bit of regret.
Yeah. Well, share with us a little bit further for those of us that wouldn't admit it, but we're not all that familiar with Shakespeare. We know the name. Maybe we've seen some film that's taken from Shakespeare or something. But why should we be interested in reading these old, stuffy, kind of classic Shakespeare? Not just Shakespeare, but you probably go back thousands of years. Like why?
It's an excellent question. Listen, why should we go back and read dead white European males? Or why should we go see the Odyssey in the movie theater this weekend? It's because narrative is central to our life. Human beings, every size, shape, color, every tribe, every religion, every race in the history of the world tells narrative. Stories make us fundamentally human. And the very best stories transcend any sectionality. It doesn't matter what race or gender or ethnicity or tribal affiliation you have. Love is love, right? Courage is courage. Strength is strength. Fear is fear. And so stories help us vicariously experience these kind of experiences of the world. And I think, at 35,000 feet, we don't have enough beauty in our life today. Our students, our young people are very intimately familiar with death and disease and drugs and destruction and despair. But beauty uplifts us, right? Beauty, something that's truly beautiful, something that, like the written word's been around for thousands of years. It's kind of disappearing a little bit in all the storm of videos and TikTok and Instagram. The written word is able to touch us in a way that video just isn't. So I'm an apostle of beauty. I'm an apostle of culture, an apostle of the humanities, and those products of the human imagination that ask the most profound and compelling questions. What is love? What is death? What is damnation? What does it mean to be a good leader or a faithful friend? No offense, you're not going to find the answer to that on TikTok videos. It requires a little work. It requires some contemplation. It requires some solace. We call it the odium and the negodium. I know these are fancy Latin words, but it just means the active and the contemplative life. Negodium is just where we get the word negotiate, right? That's an active life. But odium is that contemplative life, the philosophical act, whether it's appreciating a sunrise or a poem or the loving face of a grandchild. It requires contemplation. It doesn't happen by accident. So just like health doesn't happen by accident, you can't get in shape by watching other people sweat. You have to sweat. In fact, if you want to lose weight, I think it's better to sweat yourself than to watch other people sweating. I think if you want to cultivate a sense of beauty in your life, you have to work at it. You have to read. You have to listen to nice music. You have to have we have a candle at our table every single night. Because I want to have a candlelit dinner with my girlfriend every single night. We have classical music playing in the back, not because we're snobs, but we want to create an environment where we can have a meaningful conversation and uplift that conversation. I think Shakespeare does that for Western civilization.
Well, it's the best of being human, right? And we all admire that. And it, like you said, today we have the mentality of a paragraph. If it's going to be more than a paragraph, I don't need to know it, I don't want it.
The attention spans are shrinking.
It's totally that. And so, but
even for us, by the way, even for adults, because we are conditioned by this too. So it is the best of being human. That's why we call it the humanities. Those products of the human imagination. And I can feel my attention span getting shorter and shorter too. They're now saying that's full-length movies on TikTok that are 90 seconds long.
Good grief.
And so I take an hour a day with no cell phone, no technology, and go out in my garden to read, to make sure that that mind, that muscle continues to contemplate something beautiful.
Right, and also your heart, that your heart would be enriched, that the virtues of our lives would be increased, all of our vices would be decreased. And we admire that when we see that in the reflection of another human being. And I'm a convert to the faith, and I love being Catholic, but being Catholic has so enriched my life because of everything that is good and true and beautiful. And the world just screams it again. It's like to watch a sunrise as a child, you say, do it again, God, do it again, right? The beauty of that.
The same way when you read a story to your 3-year-old granddaughter, read it again, read it again, right? It's that same thing. So as an apostle of the humanities, I like to articulate the fact that it's not just to make you a better conversationalist, it's to make you more fully human, to talk about fear, to talk about death, to talk about damnation, redemption, leadership, marriage, sacrifice. And these are all issues that Shakespeare addresses in his plays. They're found other places, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Shakespeare is the only place, but intellectually that's my home. And that's the class that I've been teaching for 40 years.
And I'd say you feel that Shakespeare, but you don't feel that Shakespeare. You've studied it. So do you see in Shakespeare, for a guy that hasn't read all that much Shakespeare, do you see anything sacramental? Do you see anything regarding theology of the body? Do you see anything regarding virginity, good, evil? There are different things that he's written.
If by sacramental you mean a belief in the sanctity of life or the sanctity of the lived experience.
Of marriage,
Right, no, there's all kinds of sentiment. I don't want to turn Shakespeare into a Catholic Shakespeare because he's not really, in my mind, a Catholic Shakespeare. But what he is he's a human Shakespeare. And those sacramentals that we call, those objects of holiness, even when Othello's contemplating and actually kills his wife, he's talking about her as if she's a saint, right? Everybody who's been married knows there's a fine line between love and not love, and we need kind of blessings to get through it, and relationships are complicated, and they're not easy. And Shakespeare is, in real life, showing how those complications can arise.
Okay. Joy mentioned the truth, good, the beautiful. We always say this as Catholics. We believe that when we say that.
The transcendentals, right?
Okay, and that's my point. What do you mean when you say transcendentals?
Yeah, so anything that transcends a specific section of, so there are certain artists that only appeal to teenagers, but some artists can appeal to teenagers and they can appeal to adults and to grandparents. So I'll take a look at the Beatles.
Right.
The Beatles came around in the 1960s, but grandpas are listening to the Beatles right now. People my age are listening to the Beatles, and my kids are listening to.
And our grandchildren
And our
are
grandchildren.
listening.
So they have transcended a generation.
Right.
It doesn't really matter what age you are. There are certain things that transcend your gender, that transcend your race, that transcend your politics, and those things, we have a word for those, are called classics. A tuxedo is a classic piece of male. My grandfather was married in one, my father was married in one, I was married in one, and my son was married in one. I'm not saying that everybody who gets married has to get married in a tuxedo, but I say that 50 years from now, the black tuxedo is still probably going to be a viable stylistic choice. Shakespeare has been dead for 400 years. People are still reading, and there's got to be a reason for this. People continue to go see his productions, and I'm not saying you have to go and be a scholar and look at every single word. Go to a production, go see Shakespeare, go see any theater, go see some drama, go see a local concert. Dedicate yourself to trying to explore the beauty of human beings and their talent, because those are gifts.
Right. Well, it's like, you know, not to date ourselves, but we went to go see Fleetwood Mac. We went to go see Elton John.
Yeah.
And
Sticks and Foreigner for my wife.
It was, and these people, they're old, okay? But what artists. And they just gave themselves away in their skill and their beauty. And I never appreciated a drummer as I did with Fleetwood Mac on the drums. And you're just like, oh my gosh, the guy was unbelievable.
And you felt 18 again. So this is what I mean by transcendent. It transcended age. We've been telling stories since the misty recesses of prehistory, Gilgamesh and the Iliad, the Odyssey, the Indian. These things have had a power over the human mind. And I'm afraid, I don't want to be the old guy saying get off my, I'm afraid we're losing the capacity to understand beauty, because beauty is a philosophical term that's called aesthetics, right? You can approach it intellectually, and the words like symmetry and harmony and proportion, nobody uses that language anymore. My students are fascinated by Shakespeare, I think in part because they're confronting something beautiful for the first time in their life, and they don't really know how to adjudicate that or how to write about it.
Right, but they want to connect with it.
Oh, it's like a moth to a flame, of course. Of course.
Yeah.
What a blessing to have you with us today, and for you introducing this to so many people, especially on the college campus. And thank God we have you again tomorrow to speak about a particular book that you've written on Saint Omobono. And so we're looking forward to see, you know, who he is. And I'm sure that what you shared today, I know it did with me, just reading your bio and some of these terms that I don't usually research and think about. Something immediately gets solicited from you, from above, to say, oh, there's so much more. Let me see with your eyes, Lord. I want to be enriched as a human being in the midst of this secularized and digital culture. You know, there's so much more.
And if we just demystify the vocabulary, aesthetics is an important word, but it just means the study of beauty. And we're all doing that all the time. Whenever you buy a dress or a suit, you compare and contrast which one's more beautiful, which one's going to make me look nicer. That's the written word too.
Well, we're going to take a break at this point. Father John Paul is going to be with us to give us his reflections on this wonderful conversation with Dr. Voss. We'll be right back. Plenty more to come. You can go to Ithikos, ETHIKOS.com for more information. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Welcome back. Well, we're very blessed to have with us Father John Paul. He's been very busy out traveling in many places, but today he's here on At Home. And Father, we are so happy to have you. What did you think of the conversation with Dr. Voss?
Well, just a couple things that kind of came up as you all were having your discussion. Just the power of the written word, the power of story. I love the people watch. From the time I was a little boy, I love to watch people, to watch them in action, to go to the beach and just watch people, just interact with people. And even more than that, to listen to story. Just the power of story in general. My mom used to read to us a lot. And over and over again, the power of story. There were certain stories that never got old, and that I wanted her to read over and over and over again. And I think the more that we actually, you know, do that, especially parents, grandparents with their children, and just read and really impart to their kids just the beauty of learning. There's something really that transcends. There's something that's conveyed to a child. You know, just even allowing a child to use their imagination. You know,
There's multiple things going on, right? I mean, if it's a great story, you're sharing it, they're getting that. You can answer some questions, you can say, what do you think? But the memory that will also stay with them is the encounter with the grandparent or the encounter with the parent. That will always be there. I might not be able to say everything back, but that she took the time, I see her face, love for me, and she was trying to pass on to me and my generation these transcendent truths that will always be true, that exemplify the way of God and human dignity.
Yeah, there are certain things that will always be classic. I love that the fact that you brought that up, that in every age, just beauty itself conveys, something of God, the fingerprints of God in the world.
We saw that when we went to Rome for the first time, and I was getting closer and closer to reverting back into the church, and Joy was kind of like, she wasn't on the page, so to speak, and we got a trip to Rome, and when she walked into St. Peter's Cathedral, and she walked in, I could see just her eyes were filled with tears and this and that. I said, well, are you okay? What's going on? She goes, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. And she was just like, and that was, this was an offering to God, and God was in this offering because God is beauty. Beauty's not God, he's bigger than beauty, but he is that, and it's good. It's good that we're here, and how the arts were used to open Joy up. Yeah.
Yeah, I think beauty itself can point to the divine, and even literature itself can point past, the story itself to, really the architect. I think all of history in general is his story.
Yeah.
How does his story come into contact with our story? And that can be conveyed through literature and art and plays.
Music.
Absolutely.
Father, close us with a prayer and a blessing, please.
Family, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May he turn his face to you and be merciful to you. And may he show you his kindness and give you his peace. May the blessing of Almighty God, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit descend upon you and remain with you forever. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Peace.
Father.
Amen. Be sure to join us tomorrow once again as we continue our conversation with Dr. Paul Voss and the contemplation of beauty and other virtues, that which is true, that which is good, and that we would take his word to heart. Contemplate. Be active, but contemplate. There's so much God is speaking if we would take time to tilt our heads and just simply look and see. Keep it on EWTN. Bye now.